I have with me Mr. Pedro Meduna, the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Tripda. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Right, Mr. Meduna, let's start with you explaining us as to what Tripda is.
Great. So Tripda is a carpooling platform. What we do is connect drivers that are already driving from one city to another with other people that want to go to the same destination. So let's say I'm traveling from Delhi to Chandigarh, and I know I'm driving this Friday. I go to Tripda, I offer my ride, telling when I will leave Delhi and when I'm going to Chandigarh, so that other people that also want to do the same ride can find me, book a ride with me, and travel with me to that destination.
Great. If you could tell us a little more about the app.
Okay, so we are available here in India for our webpage at tripda.in, and also for apps for iPhones and Android-based users.
And how would you explain the app to someone who is completely new?
It's very important to understand that Tripda is for normal users, just like you and just like me, Sapna. So people that are already driving and have their available seats and want to share the cost of their trip and also get to know more people. Here in India, I'm always amazed that the majority of people that drive in the highways drive alone. This is a waste, right? So they have the available seats, they are already driving, so why not share the cost of their rides and get to know other people so that we can have more people using the same cars and less traffic on the roads.
Right, so how do you think this idea would work in India, this being a completely new phenomenon happening now?
Exactly, so I think here in India, just like all other emerging markets, car ownership is very expensive, and it's a market where people are already familiar with social networks and IT in general. So I think it's very important for people to understand exactly what Tripda is, try it for the first time so that they can know about the power of the concept and start using from time to time. Our experience shows that after the user tries for the first time, they become loyal users. The challenge of India right now is to let people know what Tripda is and how the app and the web page usually works, so that people can try it out.
And what's the monetary involvement of each individual who would be going ahead with this?
This is very important. So right now, Tripda is not charging any fees. So the way it works is the person that is driving his cars and have available seats will suggest a price based on how many kilometers the distance is. And the person that books this ride will pay them in cash once they meet and do the trip. It's very important as well that we make this solution as easy and as simple as possible so that people can try it out. For India and for all our other markets, we give a strong focus on the security of our solution. What Indians usually ask me is this safe? How should I use this? So it's very important to say that for India and for all our other emerging markets, we demand Facebook for people to log in so that we can have their basic information, how many friends they have, what they like to do. We verify mobile information and their emails. We have reviews for both the drivers and the passengers, meaning every time there's a trip at Tripda, whoever drove will evaluate the passenger, and the passenger will also evaluate the driver. For women, we have a ladies-only solution, because usually women don't want to drive with other men, so they can start trying out driving only with other women. And finally, we have a badge solution, so that, for instance, if somebody studies in IIT India or some universities and they have an email from that university, they can confirm that email, and this will be used to validate that they're studying there, and also if they are working in a corporation, they can validate so that other people can have additional information and can have further trust in the system and in the person that they will travel with.
Great. Well, your organization is inclined to Digital India, so what's your take on whatever is happening here in India with so much emphasis by the existing government being given on Make in India campaign digital India, with IT being an integral part of every sector, and not to forget your sector as well. So how do you think your organization can act as an enabler to digital India?
So this to me is just something that reinforces the potential of this market. So every time I'm here in India, I learn more about other digital technology systems. I see how developed the country is in that regard. And I think overall, it's a market where people understand the benefits of technology to solve different issues of society. And here in this specific issue for Tripda, we are talking about the transportation industry in general. So we all know that the country faces some infrastructure problems, and it's always easier to take technology the way it's already present in the market for the benefit of something that already happens on a day-to-day. So people already drive from one city to another, and they already have available seats in their car. What our technology brings to the Indian market is the ability for drivers that are driving alone to connect with other people that also want to do that trajectory or to go to the same destinations. So I think that overall there's an openness in this market for new technology, which helps our product very much. And there's also an openness of taking technology to improve some of the problems that the country faces in general. So this to me is something that only highlights the potential of the market for Tripda in India.
Great. Well, what's your expectation from this budget, the transport sector as well as from your organization?
So our expectations for this market are very big. You know, we are a young organization, but we have been growing very, very strongly in India and in other markets. So our expectation for this year and the years to come is the same expectation when we started, is to grow our users base. And in our business, there's a big network effect, meaning the more people post a ride, the more people talk about it, learn about the benefits of Tripda, and this generates further growth. Right now, we are 100% focused on growing our user base and also increasing our offerings of routes, because it's very important to understand the product. The drivers of Tripda are not professional drivers, are people, normal people just like you and just like myself, that are already driving. So it's very important that we grow our user base and that people start talking about, you know, Tripda and the concept of carpooling. So right now the expectations for India is to continue increases our user base so that we can offer for the whole market a new and better means of transportation. I'm very ambitious when I think about the long-term prospect of carpooling in this country. I really think that because we already have the capacity in place, meaning the most people that drive alone on a day-to-day basis, it's just a matter of increasing the awareness of the concept of carpooling and the brand awareness of Tripda, so that we can take something that already exists, the current infrastructure of the country, meaning the highways that are already here and the drivers that are already doing the trips, to leverage this in order to transport more people in a more secure, fun and convenient way of transportation.
Great. If you could share with us a few numbers, when did you break even in India, the Indian captive? And what's your expected growth rate? Because here we see the e-retail and e-tailing industry having a 600% growth rate with success stories of Snapdeal and some other names. So what's your growth rate right now?
So what we're sharing is, in terms of global numbers, we are a company that is less than 1 year old and we already have over 70,000 users worldwide. We are growing on 100% basis month after month. I think your basis was on a yearly basis.
Right.
So it's a very, very strong growth. In India, it's not different from other markets. So if we take last month, I can tell you that in terms of rides and users, we have grown even more than 100% on a monthly basis. So we don't have an expectation in terms of usage or break even for any of the markets. What we're doing right now is comparing the performance of all of our different markets on a weekly basis. We have weekly calls to discuss, where we can do things better, because it's the same concept that we're launching in 13 different markets. And chances are that we can learn something in India and apply it to Brazil, or we can learn something that is working in Chile and apply it here to the Delhi region. So this is how we operate. And the most important thing is to keep with this growth and have a strong momentum here in this market, so that more people talk about the concept of carpooling, and we can grow this from the bottom up. Right now, if you ask me, here in India, the tech industry focus on transportation is already very present. Right. But it's more focused on short-term distance, on cab solutions. And what we are bringing is a new concept. It's the carpooling concept that works better on medium to long distances, and with people that are not doing this to make money. They are doing this to get to know new people and share their costs. So it's very important for people to understand this new concept that we're bringing to India and start using it. If you ask me, I'm pretty confident that the concept of carpooling is even more secure and even more benefit for society than the technology applied for short distance that is very big in India right now. So it's just a matter of time until we can grow our user base and the awareness of Tripda and the carpooling concept as a whole.
Great. What are the challenges you are facing right now?
The biggest challenge is to increase the knowledge of how our product works. So people tend to associate us with other technologies, like I discussed, that are more short distance oriented. It's very important for people to understand that our users are normal people. We don't have professional drivers working for Tripda. It's just like people like you and me. It is a secure concept that in other parts of the world, it's very, very present, with millions of people using it every day. I have no doubts in my mind that, let's say, in 3 years from now, carpooling will be one of the biggest means of transportation of this country. The challenge that Tripda faces right now is how to do it not in 3 years, but do it in 6 months. We definitely have the resource and the solution to reach that level. The challenge now is how can we make more people aware of the solution, and how can we close the right alliances and take the right supporters to make this a big concept in this country. People usually ask me if we face regulators problems in the markets where we operate. What I can tell you is that in all of our markets where we have already had, direct contact with the governments, we have received a strong support. Because in different countries, I'll give you an example, like Argentina in the United States, governments are already doing strong movements in order to increase the car usage. Give you a quick example. In the US, there is one lane dedicated for cars that have more than 3 people inside it. So governments already know the powerful concept of cars being more optimal, of more people using the same cars. So it's a matter here in India for people to really understand the concept of carpooling and how Tripda works, how Tripda is secure, how it can benefit drivers, passengers, the governments, also the environment, because there will be less cars and less pollutions, so that we can do this a viable and mainstream mean of transportation in this country.
If you could tell us about the transportation laws right now in India, are you happy with it? I wouldn't say happy, but what's your expectation from this budget? Are you looking at any kind of tax reformation which would affect the transport sector?
It's very, very difficult to talk about specific tax issue. What I usually do is talk more on a general term, right? So we, as a whole, I see that tech companies, they have to be able to discuss with governments so that we can find a common ground, right? And what I'm seeing in other countries, and also in India, is that governments are being more open to understand how tech companies can improve the status quo in their markets. And tech companies are being more open to do a better dialogue with the government. I think this is a trend that is irreversible and will continue to go on. So in general terms, I see a more approximation of tech companies and governments so that we can find common grounds, not only in terms of taxes but also on regulations, so that we can both sides understand one another. And just like I was discussing, it's very important for governments here in India to understand what Tripda is and what the concept of carpooling is versus other tech companies. It's often very easy for people to put all the tech companies in the same box. And I really believe there are different players, and each segment has to be treated individually so that we can find common grounds for each type of business, making everything more secure and more structured. So I'm always open to have this discussion with governments so that we can improve and have the right support level of the government and keep using technology as an enabler of further improvements for society, and in this case for the transportation section in India.
Just one last question here. I guess it's just the right time, India being second in terms of internet penetration and also smartphone usage, and fourth for telecom in the world. So do you think also the age bracket that the majority of the population is below 35 years is really helping all of what is happening right now to organizations such as yours?
It definitely. If you ask me about who the normal user of Tripda is, it's usually the younger population. And the reason is simple. Young people, they are what we call early adopters. They are more open to adopting something new. Every time I'm in a university here in India, for instance, and I talk about Tripda, I already see people downloading our apps and sharing it with other friends, saying, look, this is a great concept, let's use them. So if you ask me, I'm really positive that our growth, at least in this beginning stage, will be among early users, young people, and then from time to time we'll start seeing more older people using, because they heard from younger people. So this is how we expect to grow. Once in another market I was driving with Tripda, and I drove a woman with 60 years old, and I asked her, how did you find out about Tripda? She said, my son uses the product very often and he told me, and I decided to give it a try. So here in India, the fact that we have a younger population that is using technology more and more is definitely helps Tripda, and we definitely expect to grow based on that size of population to begin with, and then expand, and with time we will see people that are young now and have already Tripda getting older, and advising other people to use Tripda, and also more younger people as they acquire cell phones, and as the internet penetration increase further, more people using Tripda, and the market develop every day faster.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to meet you.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.